Welcome back. Today, it's going to be a pretty big one. Okay, the core of Dragonflight is done, so it's time to set up what's next. And you'd think 10.2.5 would be doing all of the work there, but no. November's trading post had 3 sets of cosmic-themed weapons around Order, Fel, and Void. Each unlocked unique dialogue with the Twilight Hermit, an orc that we first met in the early days of the Fourth War. I've spent a lot of time digesting all of this. Today, I think I've got it all worked out. If you ever found yourself asking, what sword? Then I think you're going to enjoy this one. And our sponsor, friend of the channel, boot.dev. So they are going to teach you back-end web development, which is an amazing and valuable skill. In this case, using Python and Go, which are amazing technologies, and they'll do it the smart way by actually making it fun. You see, they're an online self-paced platform, 100% designed to get you writing loads of code, because that's where the learning happens. And they do that by making it a role-playing game. Quests, levels, XP, achievements, leaderboards, all focused on you writing code. And the great news is, as a viewer of this channel, you can get 25% off your first purchase with code Bellular at boot.dev/Bellular. Of course, safe knowing that A, they've got a 30-day no questions asked refund policy, and they've got interactive demos for every course, and they even supply all of their materials for free in guest mode, sans the interactivity, which is incredible. It's so many resources. So yeah, the point is, it's about you writing code, it's about you solving problems, and because Boot is made by people with loads of experience in this field, the point is that it's about you learning real fundamental skills. It's not some, get rich quick by quickly getting this skill trend chasing thing. No, it's actually getting you, the real skills that will help you land an actual job. I mean, look, I spent thousands a year doing computer science at uni, and let's just say the cost-benefit analysis here is kind of crazy. So you can hit them up using my link and use code Bellular for 25% off your first purchase. A big thanks to Boot for supporting the show, and let's go. First the Hermit, and I'll give you the speedy version. So, while hunting those who would exploit Azerite, the adventurer came upon a wriggling mass, one that to the touch overpowers the mind, grants a vision, a many-eyed goat, a pool of black water. The goat's eyes burst open. Suddenly, you find yourself in the puddle. The goat now towers over you. You feel the water move. You are sinking, and down you go into the darkness. Quite an unpleasant vision as far as visions go. And as we'd eventually find out, another person had experienced this vision, a Twilight Hermit in Silithus. But here's the key, unlike other cultists, he's friendly. He's actually remorseful. He says he wants to atone for things that he's done. So either this is all a ruse, or he genuinely wants to help and we can basically trust what he's saying. So we speak to him and we learn that the whispers that he was hearing ceased right as Sargeras stabbed the world, and that our shared vision that we both had, that to him, that signifies the end times are almost upon us. Well, fast forward to today, and your fancy new weapons from the trading post. Return to this hermit bearing these weapons, and he'll have a lot to say. And I'll begin with the weapons modeled after Sargeras. Gorodar and Seatheris are references to Sargeras' sword Gorabal, the Dark Seether. Now, our hermit understandably freaks out at the sight of them. He notes that they are coursing with the same energies that he saw in the actual Darkblade of Sargeras itself. And that these are basically proof that he was right all along, that the end is actually coming. But let's break down the 2 big nuggets of information we get from this NPC. Number 1. Why did he strike this place? He was far too masterful a tactician to choose his target by chance. And 2. His crusade sought to eradicate all life from existence. Do you think his final act before being captured by the Pantheon would not be in service to that goal? So let's review things then. We've learned from the Hermit that striking Silithus was purposeful and that it was in service of the eradication of all life. And further to that from before, we know that whenever the sword struck, the voices ceased for our Hermit. And I'm also going to add another character, Ogmod. Ogmod is this Twilight ogre, and we just kill him at the end of Legion. But when we kill him, we loot his journal. And according to his journal, in the very last entries, the voices have stopped for him as well. So whatever that sword did, a certain bunch of people stopped getting visions. Okay, let's work it out, but first, I've actually got to point out that the Hermit is wrong, technically. Sargeras does wish to eradicate all life, but that's for a purpose, because he thinks that's the only way to combat Void for good, right? Because it's kind of going to feed off life. And that means that Sargeras ideally would claim Azeroth for his own, essentially getting infinite power to carry out his mission. Or he would do anything to stop Old Gods, Void Lords, or Titans from getting it. Okay, that's his motivation for doing the big stab. From here, let's talk about possibilities, targets. There's basically 3 of them as I see it. Number 1, it could just be the World Soul itself. Number 2, he could be aiming for the Chamber of the Heart, or it could be some sort of void being, and if Blizzard wanted to be cheeky, Xal'atath technically did thank us for giving her a bit of a foothold on the seat of the Pantheon, so she was like aware of things when we were doing the Argus fight, though the options of World Soul and Chamber are the ones that I take seriously. Now the World Soul is the obvious choice, BFA absolutely reinforces that. But that being said, the Chamber of the Heart is a pretty juicy target too. Destroying that, damaging that, could further Sargeras' aims, perhaps in ways that we don't understand, and don't worry, I've cooked in that one. Now, one of my own personal theories is that Azeroth is essentially in stasis, getting sort of infused with arcane for millennia and millennia as the Titans try to undo the damage that the Old Gods perhaps did during the Black Empire. If that is to be true, then damaging the Chamber of the Heart would certainly disrupt that stasis, wake Azeroth up a bit. I mean, think about it, she did get a lot more active at that point. And then think about Chris Metzen at BlizzCon. He spoke of a conspiracy, some secret behind why Azeroth is covered in all of these Titan installations. And that's where it gets more interesting, because in Battle for Azeroth, we actually learned that the Chamber of the Heart is a top secret installation. Ra, who I presume was second in command of the Titan Keepers because his title is High Father and we know that Odin was the boss, he didn't even know about the Chamber of the Heart. So if the chamber is that secret, then it must be vital to the Titans' plans. Either way, this is where I'm going to tie it into the War Within. I'm pretty happy about this. Okay. Look at Khazalgar on the map. It is right off the southern coast of Kalimdor. One of its zones contains a thing called the Coreway, and it's described as a passage straight to the World Soul. Now, of course, imagine this map pre-Sundering, and you'll see that all of these things are actually very, very close together. And given that this is all very deep beneath the earth anyway, and also the proximity of both of those sites to the Halls of Origination in Uldum, I think you basically see that we are dealing with a cluster of Titan facilities. But not just any old ones of extreme importance. I mean, the Coreway and the Chamber of the Heart, those are obviously important. In the Chamber, we see it can network to different facilities and coordinate things. We see that it can communicate with the Heart and also monitor its status. With the Coreway, well, we'll see in the new expansion, and then the Halls of Origination, well, those are essentially the Titans' backup plan for restarting the planet. Now, imagine all of these past events from the perspective of the Oath-sworn Earthen, who are the very people who defend the Coreway. I mean, we barely saved the Chamber of the Heart. What did those fellas have to deal with whenever the Sword Strike happened? Maybe they had to deal with all that foul energy coursing through, who knows? But to me, this is the major insight, that the Coreway is actually so close to the Chamber of the Heart, and that is where the stab happened. I suppose if you were wondering, where the hell is Khazalgar? Why is it linked to the sword? How can it be linked to the sword even though Khazalgar is a different place to Silithus? There you go, it's the Titan installations. So rather than offer firm answers, what the Hermit is essentially doing here is putting a massive signpost up saying, this will continue. As for the Whispers stopping for those characters, basically they're who's to say. I mean, they could have originated from the body of Cthulhu. Not the little bit we killed in the raid, I mean the actual gargantuan body, not the tiny manifestation. The sword could have easily destroyed that. Maybe its foul energies finished the job. Maybe that's what made them stop. Perhaps there's a void something deep below that we're not aware of. I mean, big void portals to the total unknown existing, underneath the earth. When have we seen that recently? I mean, seriously, look at that Sarkarath boss room. Maybe even the Nerubians of Azj-Kahet were close to a breakthrough, right? Some void-related breakthrough, and then the sword stopped them. Maybe an awoken Azeroth was somehow able to hold back the Whispers. These are all things you can see tied into the next expansion. Then a final theory, I think whatever plan Ogmot and the Twilight Hermit were a part of, I think those plans ended that day. I mean, who knows, that's perhaps the day that Xal'atath, harbinger of the Void Lords, kicked off her plan in earnest. As for the Hermit, he ends the conversation by saying, tread carefully unless we inadvertently serve the same cause as Sargeras. Of course, from the Hermit's point of view, that's the end of all life. Now, that Hermit obviously doesn't think we're going to join Team Sargeras. His point is that the Titans are kind of doing the same thing. Basically, Sargeras might look like a demon, but go into the lore, he's not. He's a being of order, just one with a different solution. Okay, Titan weapon time. So, these are Taysavir, which is named after Tayshalak, which is Agrimar's weapon that itself is a fragment of Sargeras' original sword, Gorshalak, and then Mithoris, which likely means Blade of the Throne. As an example, Antorus is the Burning Throne, so Mithoris, sort of Blade, Throne, you sort of get the thing. Anyway, we bring these to the Twilight Hermit, and he's really spooked. Sargeras is kind of out of the picture. The Titans are not. He says these invite destruction, that to blindly wield the blades of the Titans could lead to our own end at their hands. He tells us essentially what Dragonflight has hinted at, or to use an older reference, what Algalon straight up told us in Wrath of the Lich King, when he spoke of wiping out countless civilizations and feeling absolutely nothing, because he was serving a cold order. Our Hermit puts it rather bluntly, and to paraphrase what he says, the Titans care only of order, they will sacrifice absolutely anything to get it, even their own followers, that they essentially act in very absolute terms just as Sargeras does, and the only thing that differs is not the goal, just the method. So once again, this is a warning that blind adherence to their plans will not be good for any of us. I mean, hell, even in a more jovial example of this, there's one of the time rifts in patch 10.1.5 where we actually see that, like, the mechagnomes have won out. And in this perfectly ordered world, you see everything's a robot and literally no life remains. Seems like a hint to me. Okay, you knew she was going to appear again. It's Xal'atath. Xal'atath is the cutting edge of the current lore. She's had long dealings with the Twilights. She's fascinating. It's recently came to light that she was influencing the cult 20 years ago when they infested the Black Fathom Deeps. She instructed one of their artisans in the creation of void-touched armaments. This is the really, really cool stuff we've seen in Season of Discovery. But what it points to is Xal'atath working a plan since long before the Legion expansion. And if you think 20 years was long, think again. Our final weapon is Void Song, Stave of the Harbinger. Its flavor text reads, "A gift of Dementius bestowed at the height of the Black Empire. Those touched by shadow are drawn to its haunting whispers." And that text is very, very apt. So bring that to the Hermit, and you'll find that he can hear it. Here's what he's got to say about it. "The Masters bestowed gifts upon their faithful. That stave was one such instrument. It was given to the Harbinger so that one day she might, and he stops. He cannot get the words out. That's because he's cut off by an unseen presence. It reaches into his mind and it prevents him from speaking the words at the tip of his tongue." And I have got to imagine it's probably Xal'atath that spoke through it to shut him up. So to help everybody understand, I've basically got to explain the being from Void Song's flavor text. It's this guy called Dementius. He's not a guy, he's in fact a Void Lord. Essentially the most powerful, dangerous being possibly imaginable, but with a little bit of a downside. If he manifests into reality, it takes inordinate amounts of energy and he's super, super weak. But should he find that massive source of energy? Literally unstoppable, completely unstoppable. Now, he is responsible for the ruination of a world called Karesh. It may not mean much to you, but basically it's the ethereal homeworld. You know, the dudes who are all like arcane energy wrapped up in the bandages? Yeah, they had a pretty bad time with Dementius. And oddly enough, we defeated him in the Burning Crusade, but not really. So remember that Xal'atath is his harbinger. Whenever we were carrying Xal'atath as a dagger, she whispered this into the minds of our character. "I long for the day our masters can truly pass into this realm. You have only seen fragments, shadows, the faintest of echoes." That is what Xal'atath, harbinger of Dementius, told us about her masters. So, that's Xal'atath and Dementius, no doubt pretty big for the future. Here's my understanding, though, of the lay of the land with Void. So, you've got the Void Lords up at the top. Then you've got the old gods, which they spread across the cosmos to just infect and destroy and consume worlds. Thing is though, these old gods have got minds of their own. They are their own sloppy dudes. And, well, because of that, they're not always seeing eye to eye. And Blizzard devs have hinted at this numerous times, saying that the likes of N'Zoth actually do have their own ideas and plans. Now recently, this gets more interesting because we've seen the rise of something called Cosmic Void. That's not my name for it, it's not actually the in-game canonical name for it, but it's literally what Blizzard call the effects, such as those seen around Sarkareth in the actual game files. They're all called Cosmic Void, and you'll note that rather than sort of purple fleshy, it's more blue, purple, dark, spacey. So expect Xal'atath to serve this Cosmic Void, but also to maybe have her own angle in things, and potentially, if N'Zoth is a big smart boy, as we all think he is, well, maybe he has managed to escape from his situation and will have his own plan for all of this. And that's not something that I say idly just to fluff up a video, no. Blizzard have never, they've always played with speculation whenever people say, hey, did N'Zoth really go down? They never say, yeah, he's dead and gone. So they've always teased, and then when you actually look at things in the Dragonflight expansion, you see some Easter eggs, like this eye that was found in the sea, or these very curious looking rocks that just happen to look like a N'Zoth tentacle thing. And also, you know, we met N'Zoth in the past in this expansion. So that's Void Lords and Old Gods. Ultimately, the plan we're seeing play out here must stretch back to the Black Empire, or at the very least, the relationship between Xal'atath and the Void Lords, because she's been the Harbinger since the Black Empire, and you're dealing with, boggling amounts of time in the past. And what we'll see is her do a bunch of plans in War Within. Those plans will then peak with Midnight. Midnight is to be the ultimate Void and Light expansion, the one that should ideally, from Xal'atath's perspective, basically see Void Lords or see Azeroth about to fall. But of course, Iridikron is counting on that, because he thinks the Titans will respond to that threat by showing up themselves, and that is when he plans to kill them. As for our Twilight Hermit, well, he constantly warns that we may accidentally serve the hand that eventually will destroy us. If we defeat Iridikron and save the Titans, well, there's no guarantee that our reward will involve freedom. But hey, to truly find that out, we gotta wait until, I'd say roughly, mid-2029. Now, if you enjoyed today's video, absolutely check out this one next. This is diving pretty deep into the Iridikron stuff, his angle and all of this. I think you'll enjoy it a lot if you enjoyed today's video. That's it for me, though. I hope you had fun. I certainly had fun and sort of mental damage from writing this, but just comes with the territory, doesn't it? Have a great day. See you next time.